Good evening. Welcome to Taillights with Angie and Larry Baum. Angie and Larry Baum are a married couple who've been co-team driving for 6 years now. Done a many miles. You figured out the mileage yet, Larry? Hello, Larry and Angie. Did I lose you?
Sorry, there we go. How many miles?
1.3 million.
1.3 million miles. You are very fortunate to have that woman stick with you for 1.3 million miles.
Yeah, I can't believe she lasted 3 miles.
Yeah, really. Especially with your attitude sometimes, huh?
Absolutely.
Hey, we've been talking to you all over the course of the last couple of weeks because out of 1.3 million miles, you have more than a story or two, and you had the opportunity to meet all sorts of interesting people along the way. Some are, of all different types. Different races, different attitudes. Also, happy people, sad people, mad people. Give me another example of some of the interesting people that you've met on your journey.
Well, two of them actually came to mind to us this week when we were thinking about what to talk about, and their stories are kind of similar. But the first one was we were in New Jersey for the weekend. We were down for our 34 at a TA, and we were it was actually, I think it was on a Sunday, and it was funny because there was an old gentleman, I believe he was 72, that was parked next to us. And I saw him parked next to us, and I just smiled at him, like to say hello. And I started cleaning the truck. And what was so funny is I started noticing that about 15 or 20 minutes into me cleaning the truck and him watching me, then he started getting out his cleaning supplies and he started cleaning his truck too. So it was kind of funny. Like I started washing the windows. A few minutes later, he started washing the windows, and I started sweeping out the truck. He started sweeping out the truck. So when I was sweeping out the truck, he opened up the door and we were kind of sweeping at the same time. And I said, "Are you copying me?" He's like, "Well, you motivated me to clean my truck." So anyway, we sat down and we started talking with him, and Larry actually went over there to gift him with a Subway card and just to tell him thank you and introduce ourselves. And before I knew it, Larry and this older gentleman, I believe his name was Harold, were sitting on his steps of his truck, and I was sitting on the steps of our trucks. And we just started having a conversation. And he'd been out here driving for over 50 years. He started driving in his father's farm, so he learned on farm equipment, and then graduated and got a CDL and became a truck driver. And he was at the point in life, it was kind of sad because we're like, well, we could learn so much from you, and you've probably got so many stories to tell. And he's like, "Oh yeah," he goes, "I do." He goes, "But he goes, I wish I could have retired 5 years ago." And I was like, yeah, a lot of drivers say that. Well, come to find out, his wife had been diagnosed with cancer. And the plan was that she was going to try and go over the road with him and, just hang out with him as a trucker's wife. But then she got diagnosed with cancer. And so unfortunately, he said that he's not able to stop trucking because their Medicare and Medicaid doesn't cover the medical bills. And you would think, that's a sad story, and oh my gosh, that probably doesn't happen a lot. But ever since we've met Harold, I think that we've met 3 or 4 other truck drivers are in that same situation. So it's like we meet a lot of interesting truckers out here, but some of their stories are, it's kind of heartbreaking because, you want to learn a lot from them, but then you find out, that they can't stop trucking because they have a sick one at home that they're taking care of. But he was a sweetheart, and I think Larry learned a lot from him.
Tell me about the conversation, Larry.
Yeah, he was military also. So he was Army. We talked a lot about the Army.
How long were you in the Army, Larry?
6 years.
6 years.
80 to 86.
And where were you stationed?
I was stationed my first duty station was California. Joined the Army, lived in California my whole life. Joined the Army, see the world, they stick me in California. Ord. Yeah. But then after that, I went to Germany.
And how?
I was lucky. I didn't get to see any action. I joined right when Reagan took over and they released the hostages.
Okay.
And then I left before Desert Storm.
Wow. So, yeah, in between all the major conflicts.
Yeah. But yeah, he was a sweetheart. He talked a lot about his wife.
Yeah.
He really missed her, and tears came to his eyes as he was talking about her.
Wow.
He loved our dogs because he had a dog at home that reminded him of one of our dogs, and he came over and started loving on our dogs. But it's just like one of the things I think I was talking with a bunch of trucker friends of mine is that, you know, back when old school trucking was a thing, which seems to be a thing of the past, you know, truckers would actually sit around at the, you know, dinner table inside the truck stop and actually talk, and how was your day and where are you coming from? And these days, it seems like most truckers are so stuck in their electronics that nobody really talks too much. So it's nice when we get those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's especially since the pandemic. People, you know, before the pandemic, well, I'm going to flip this around as a question. Okay, but I've already kind of set it up for you now, so you know what's coming. Do you see a difference in the way people talk now and the lack of it compared to pre-pandemic times?
Yeah, definitely with the election. Pre-pandemic and election combined, there's like hardly any communication. Nobody wants to talk to anybody. Everybody's getting so rude. Everything's, you got your mask? Why don't you wear your mask? I don't need to wear a mask. You vote for Trump? Oh, I hate you. You vote for Biden? Oh, I hate you. It's just the hatred is so bad.
And then, well, the other thing is, I mean, there's a lot of politics especially at the pumps. I don't know why, but over the last 2 years. But then,
I'm so sorry.
But then the other thing I think we've noticed is everybody tries to keep their distance. Even now, when the world's starting to open back up, a lot of people are still keeping their distance and not wanting to talk, keeping their heads down. You know, where 2 years ago, I think people were more talking and more open to, you know, if you were to approach them, hey, how's your day going or whatever. But yeah, the last 2 years, it's definitely been lonely out here, I think.
And nobody shakes hands anymore. I miss the handshake.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've noticed that too. You know, some people fist bump, you know, so at least there's something. But you know, a lot of people, they don't want to be touched.
Yeah,
you know, because
or they kick feet.
Yeah, we've had drivers do that instead of doing the arm bump, they'll kick feet with us. It's like, okay, that works, you know. But I hate it. And then, of course, because we go from state to state, you never know, do we have to wear a mask or do we not have to wear a mask? And what are the protocols? So it's like you're kind of at the point now, no matter where you go, whether it's a shipper, a receiver, or in a truck stop, you just kind of take your mask with you just in case.
New Mexico seems to be the strictest state.
Yeah.
Are they still strict right now?
They're not as bad as they were, but they do ask that you wear your mask in most locations. And we actually, I didn't know why, like at the beginning of the pandemic, why New Mexico was so stringent on the mask. For a while there, a lot of the cities, they would have police on the on-ramps and off-ramps, and they wouldn't even let you into town unless you actually lived in that city. And I didn't understand it until one day we went to a truck stop, and it was a little mom and pop truck stop. And she was saying that a lot of the Native Americans there don't have electronics like radios or TVs, so they don't understand how bad the pandemic was getting. So the COVID was spreading really bad amongst the tribes. I'm like, once she explained it that way, I was like, okay, I understand why they're being so strict.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's not something I had thought about either. That makes good sense. Speaking of which, where are you all this week? I didn't ask you that.
We just entered New Mexico.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, we just crossed the border.
All right. Well, are you going to be stopping through there, or are you just headed down, headed straight through?
We're headed straight through. We just stopped for the show. We're headed to California.
Okay.
And actually, I need to stop because my arms are killing me. It is so windy out.
Well, I was going to say that, we've been reporting on that all day about the strong winds from Canada all the way down to Mexico and all through the area where you are, where it's been very strong winds, wind gusts. They're talking about 40, 50, some areas 60 plus miles an hour. Have you been fighting that all day?
Oh my gosh, yes. My arms are killing me. I actually saw a flatbed right outside of Pueblo, Colorado, and he was hauling a mobile home. He had a double wide on the back of his flatbed, and the wind gust must have picked it just right, because it actually flipped the mobile home off of the flatbed and rolled it. And I mean, it was destroyed. But I was like, that scared me, because our trailer is not that heavy, and if it could pick up a mobile home, it scared me. So I've been taking it real slow today.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing quite like that feeling when the wind picks you up for just a split second, and
Yes.
you know that just during that second, you did not have full control of the vehicle.
Yeah, we're parked at a weigh scale right now in one of the parking spots there, and our truck is rocking.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's from the wind.
Yes.
Wow. We're going to leave it right there, because that's a whole different story, and we'll be back here in just a few minutes on TNCRadio.live. Stick with us.
This blog is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 4 simple ways to improve your physical health as a truck driver. Being a truck driver is a rewarding career. However, it's not very rewarding for your physical health. A truck driver's lifestyle makes it difficult for them to be healthy. Because of their lifestyle, truckers are more likely to develop serious health issues like obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, and more. Although a truck driver's lifestyle doesn't promote healthy living, it doesn't mean that a truck driver cannot be healthy while on the road. There's several ways you can improve your health on the road. Here are 4 things you can start doing today to improve your physical health on the road as a truck driver. Avoid harmful foods. Avoiding unhealthy foods is way harder than it sounds. As a truck driver, your healthy food choices are extremely limited. While it may seem impossible to completely cut out unhealthy foods from your diet, it might be a good idea to cut back. You can start cutting back on unhealthy foods by packing meals in your truck. That way, the next time you get hungry on the road, you can eat a much healthier meal instead of eating greasy, high-calorie fast food. Another way you can start cutting back on unhealthy foods is to make a list of unhealthy items you eat every day and start slowly replacing them with a healthier option. For example, if you drink soda 3 times a day, cut back to 2, then to 1, and then none. Stock up on healthy foods. To live a healthier lifestyle, you have to cut back on heavily processed foods. Unfortunately, a truck driver's diet heavily consists of processed foods. Stocking up on healthy groceries is one of the best ways you can improve your physical health. When grocery shopping before your trip, avoid frozen pre-made meals, sodas, fried foods, chips. Instead, look for whole grain, fruits, veggies, and healthy fats. Start exercising. Exercise is essential to a driver's overall physical and mental health. Truck drivers have to get creative to stay fit while on the road. Finding the time to exercise can be a challenge for truck drivers. Drivers spend up to 11 hours a day on the road. After working all day, exercising may seem like the last thing you want to do, but you'll thank yourself later. Exercising a few times a week will not only improve your physical health, but also mental health. Get a good night's rest. The right amount of sleep is crucial for a truck driver. Lack of sleep can make driving dangerous. A study shows that long-haul truck drivers obtain less sleep than the required amount of alertness on the job. Truckers need a good night's sleep to be fully alert and ready to take on the road the next morning. Truck drivers travel several hundred miles each day. To reach their destination on time, they'll have to prioritize sleep so they can be alert and ready to take on the day. Not only is sleep an important factor for job performance, but it's also important for lowering stress levels and improving your immune system. Now, here are some ways to promote better sleep. Turn off electronics an hour before bed. Invest in a good mattress and pillow. Put up curtains in your truck cab. Avoid caffeine before bed. And exercise. This blog was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. Do you have the TNCRadio.live app? It's free and easy to download. Just go to app.tncradio.live, Google Play, or the App Store. Get access to live streaming radio developed by drivers for drivers. Download the TNCRadio.live app today.
This is TNCRadio.live.
Welcome back in TNCRadio.live. This is Taillights with Angie and Larry Baum. We catch up with them every week and talk to them about what's going on in the world of driving. So really appreciate y'all being with us. It's I know that you stay busy. You're never bored, right?
Oh, no, not in this job. So is there anything new and happening? I know that you guys went to the truck show a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Is there anything new coming up with TNC?
We do have a new show that's premiering later this evening after Women Road Warriors. First episode of Thoughts and Coffee with Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. This is a show all about supply chain. So it's got the leaders of from around the world of supply chain, and not detailed, logistics, numbers, and all that kind of stuff. Just talking about what's going on in the world of supply chain, what's working, what's not working, where do they see issues, all that kind of stuff. Very relaxed show, and so they call it Thoughts and Coffee. And again, that's with Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. She's well known for Let's Talk Supply Chain, podcast that she's been doing for a number of years. She was in her father's business. Oh, she did all sorts of things, from starting as a young woman, doing things like answering the phone to near the end there, taking care of the books and all that kind of stuff. And then it came time for that business to stop, and she didn't want to take over the business, but she wanted to stay in all of this. And she's got one of those personalities and abilities to host her own show. So she's been running Let's Talk Supply Chain, probably the number one supply chain podcast that's out there. And so they do a show that's broadcast live every Tuesday morning. And then we're going to have it here every Tuesday evening, right after Women Road Warriors on TNCRadio.live. So that starts tonight. So we're very, very excited about that.
I actually listened to a couple of her podcasts this week when you recommended it. So and supply chain, that's a really good topic right now, especially with, I think that's the biggest thing you notice when you go to the store right now is all the things that are missing on the shelves that we're so used to having, even in the truck stops, there's a big supply chain issue going on right now. So it'll definitely be an interesting show.
Yeah, I think people will enjoy it a lot. And I think you'll appreciate her approach. And she's easy to listen to and has a great audience, and so we're excited to have them joining us. So
that's awesome.
Back over to your stuff, because that's why everybody's listening, is to hear all about y'all and the things you're doing. I understand that the truck has not been behaving.
No, I think maybe it's allergic to Larry. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Wouldn't be the first thing.
When was it? Saturday night, our boss called us. It was kind of funny. He goes, "So your truck just emailed me." I said, "I'm sorry, what?" And he goes, it was him and both of our bosses were on the phone, and they were really worried, and they're like, "Yeah, we just got an email from the truck saying that in 4 hours that the truck's going to go down to 5 miles an hour. How's the truck running? Are you able to drive it? Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, a check engine light had just come on, and I had taken a picture of it, but the truck was running fine, so I was going to wait, until I got to the next truck stop and just kind of let Larry know what was going on. And they're like, "Oh, no, we gotta get you close to a shop." So we didn't know what the issue was, but we had to pull over Saturday night, and we were supposed to deliver this Monday morning. And it wound up, what was the issue with the truck, babe? We didn't get into
the shop didn't open until Monday, so we sat there for the weekend and brought it in, told them what was wrong. They checked it out. It was corrosion on the battery cable that was throwing all kinds of code errors.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing?
That was the whole thing. And we were down for I think it was in the shop 4 or 5 hours before they finally figured it out. But yeah.
So he suggested every time we get the truck washed at Blue Beacon, that they spray down the batteries, and that'll stop the corrosion.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
So now our load's delayed by 2 days over battery corrosion, and those are new batteries too. So it's like, sometimes the littlest things can delay you so much, especially when it comes to trucking.
Yeah, we just put new batteries in December.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell anybody else this. Let's keep it a secret.
Yeah.
You don't want people to know that you were delayed from battery corrosion.
I know. I'm like, that's so silly. But, I'm glad they had me pull over because, obviously if I was driving 70 miles an hour in the truck, all of a sudden went down to 5 miles an hour, it could have caused a pretty serious accident. But luckily that never happened. When we got up Monday morning and started the truck, it was fine. We were able to go to the shop with no issues. But it was the weirdest thing when he said, yeah, your truck is emailing me. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Who knew trucks were that smart?
Yeah. Well, that's impressive, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. They ought to email. I wonder what else the truck talks to people about.
I don't know. He gets emails all the time, like, oh, almost time for an oil service, or, you just had this check engine light come on. So it's pretty cool how it's set up. That
is cool. That's very cool. So what else has been going on in your world in the last week?
Well,
I had something cool.
Oh, tell.
It was about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, when I was in the Army. I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey for basic training. I went to Aberdeen Proving Grounds for my AIT. And about a month ago, we delivered to Aberdeen Proving Grounds, which was pretty cool for me. I got to see the base where I trained in.
Oh, yeah, and we got to go back where you got to go back and see where you used to drive the tanks.
Yeah, that was fun.
You drove tanks.
I did. I drove the Abrams A1. At that time, it was the XM1. It was experimental. Actually, I worked on tanks. That's what I was. I was a mechanic.
Is that what got you into trucking then?
Actually, no. Trucking was kind of a fluke for me.
That was funny.
The way I got into trucking is I was a manager of a mobile home park for about 15 years with my wife. And she passed away. So I kind of left that job and was looking for something else. And I was on unemployment. And they had us in for a meeting. There was like 4 of us. And the counselor's like, okay, asking people, what do you like to do? What do you like to do? What do you like to do? And I was saying the things I like to do is I like to do woodwork. I like to do masonry. I like to do plumbing. And I like to drive. He goes, stop right there. You like to drive? I'm like, yeah, I love to drive. He goes, here, call this guy and he can get you a job. And I'm like, oh, cool. So it was a Rite Aid distribution center, and they were contracted through Swift. So I went up to the guy, I'm talking to him, and he asked me, how long have you had your license? I go, well, when I was 16, like everybody else. He goes, how long have you had your commercial license? I go, oh, you need a special license to drive a truck? That's how green I was.
Gotcha.
And he just shook his head, handed me a card, and said, call this person and get back to me whenever you get your license. So I called a number, and it was Swift. And they said, yeah, we got an opening for you next week. Come down to Phoenix, Arizona, and we'll train you. And I'm like, all right. And it was me and my daughter. It was right after my wife passed away. And they're like, you're only going to be gone for 3 weeks. Like, cool. So I told my daughter, here's my credit card. Don't take care of the house. Pay the rent for 6 months, and you're good to go. I was gone for 3 months before I could come back.
Wow.
Yeah. So whenever we hear there's a new trucker going into the industry, we try to tell them all the things that the recruiters tell them and try to set them straight of what to expect.
Well, let's talk about that. When we come back, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, let's talk about what it is that a young driver needs to know. What advice do you give somebody who's just getting out there? So we'll get that advice from you here in just a minute on tncradio.live. Here's Dr. Christopher Cortman with the Mental Health Moment. Dr. Chris, you can hear him every Monday night at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern, right here on tncradio.live. We've been talking about all sorts of things on his show recently. Last night, talking about relationships and the importance of relationships when you're a driver, because, as you all know, it can get pretty lonely out there. So be sure to keep up with Dr. Christopher Cortman and the Mental Health Moment coming up next.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. In the last video, we were talking about Hans Selye at the University of Montreal and how he discovered this general adaptation syndrome, which has 3 different distinct stages. The first stage, the alarm reaction. And we were built for this alarm reaction, this fight or flight. We can do this many times throughout our lives and never have it be a big issue. The problem is when the perceived threat, the stressor, stays with us. And then we go into a second stage called resistance. In resistance, we're fighting that stressor in high gear. We continue to fight and fight and fight to protect our system from some type of perceived stressor. Like what? Well, sometimes we have chronic financial problems. We're underemployed, or the bills just keep coming in and we don't have enough to pay them off. And sometimes we have a high conflict relationship or high conflict marriage that ends up a high conflict divorce. Or sometimes we have a sick child or some type of illness in the family that we can't get an accurate diagnosis, let alone successful treatment. Whatever it is, the stressor continues, and we continue to resist that in the second stage, which leads to a third stage, which is exhaustion. And according to Selye, that's when we break down. We have our depressive episodes, or we begin to be dominated by an anxiety disorder, or sometimes we have these psychophysiological symptoms like migraine headaches, or we even have issues that require years of stress, like Parkinson's disease. We have things that are caused by the wear and tear of the body over time. That's the third stage of stress, exhaustion. Now, this logically leads to a fourth stage, which is disease, and then a fifth stage, which is death. Stress over a long period of time ages us, breaks us down, and leads us to death. I'll talk to you in the next video on how we could avoid that.
Be sure to listen to Building Strong Minds with Dr. Chris, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, right here on tncradio.live.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hey, rideshare drivers, for the best in Uber, Lyft, and gig economy news, along with interviews, insights, stories from the road, and much more, tune into tncradio.live weekdays, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, and find out more at www.uberliftdrivers.com. That's www.uberliftdrivers.com. Welcome back, TNC Radio.live. This is Taillights with Larry and Angie Baum. I'm Tom Kelly. I'm pushing buttons for them and talking about the different things that are going on. Now, we were talking a little bit before the break. So let's say that I have decided I'm giving up my radio career. I'm going to be a driver instead. So
first of all, it's a perfect time to do it because we need drivers.
Okay, good. So
it's a perfect time. What would you say the biggest thing with recruiters?
Recruiters take everything they say with a grain of salt. Do not believe everything they say.
Oh, no, I talked to a recruiter. The recruiter said that I'm going to make probably somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 my first year, that I get at least 6 weeks off, and that I could be home every weekend. So I'm really excited. I mean, what kind of job is, I mean, that sounds perfect.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Get it in writing.
Yes, get it in writing.
No, yeah, I asked him about that. He said that wasn't really possible, but that I should just trust him.
Yeah, that's the one thing I think we get asked a lot is new drivers who are interested in, or the ones who are even in school right now and are looking to go into trucking is, my recruiter said this and my recruiter said that. So the biggest thing I think is when it comes to time off, especially being a new driver, you're not going to have much time off. But like Larry said, the recruiters are going to tell you anything they can because you're just a number to them to get you through the door. And then after that, you become somebody else's problem. So
I think my first suggestion would be call at least 5 to 6 different companies.
Yeah.
And figure out which guy you believe or girl you believe the most.
Okay.
And if you can talk to truckers who work for that particular company too, it's always better to talk to a truck driver who's going to be unbiased and they can tell you their personal experience with that particular company too.
Gotcha.
And if you're thinking about becoming a trucker and you live close to a truck stop, go hang out at the truck stop, talk to a lot of the drivers, check out what companies they work for.
And check out their equipment.
Definitely look at their equipment.
Gotcha.
Check out the truck, the trailer, what kind of shape it's in. Because usually the better shape, the better the company.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good right there. Now, as far as training, I've got a good friend, and I think he can show me pretty much everything I need. Is that all I need to do as far as training? Is just have somebody show me how to drive, kind of like my dad did when he took me around the parking lot at the mall on a Sunday?
If you had your own truck, then yes, all it would take is to take your license, their test, get your license, and hop on your truck and go. But if you're going to go to a company, they usually want experience or go through their schooling, like I did with Swift. I went through their schooling, and they put me out with a trainer, and then I became a solo driver.
And the one thing we always recommend, if a company is telling you, oh, you can get your CDL and, oh, you only have to do a week's worth of training, that's not a company you want to work for. You want to work for a company that's going to put you with a trainer that's going to train you for a couple of weeks, if not up to 2 months. Because when you're a new driver, it's scary out here to know everything. Just going through a weigh scale and knowing the proper procedures and, knowing all the weather implements that affect your driving. So we always recommend that if you're talking to a trucking company, go with the one that's going to offer you the longer training program because it's worth it in the end.
And schooling is usually about 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Wow.
Yeah, 3 to 6 weeks, depending on who you go through. And then after that, they usually put you with a trainer to drive on the truck.
And that's for about 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's about 6 weeks.
Okay, and then I'm off by myself after that, huh?
Usually, yeah, unless you're teaming with somebody, but usually.
So okay, well, and then
Usually teams make more money.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice do you give to somebody then who, all right, they've done the training, they've got their CDL, they've picked a company, and they're getting ready to start. How should they prepare? What should they be doing? What should they, what do you wish people would have told you before you got started, I guess, is maybe the way I want to put that.
Yeah. Well, for my female drivers, I always say do your research, number one. There's a lot of big name trucking companies that have been in trouble over the last few years by their handling of women drivers. And so when it comes to women drivers, I always say do your research your company, because you want to go to a good company that's going to support you as a female being out here. And, make sure that, especially when you're in a training situation, make sure that you're put with a good trainer that's respectable. I think the biggest thing I would say, because I think I'm rather new than Larry, is it's hard to be prepared when you first get out here, like all the accidents and the death that you see. all the weather that you probably, you're used to in your car, but driving it in a semi truck is completely different. Like the wind for today is a perfect example. The ice. What would be some of the other things?
And when you're out with your trainer and you do not feel comfortable with that trainer, dump that trainer, get another one. It's very easy to get another trainer. It's a lot better to find somebody you are comfortable with that will train you than somebody that is just rude and mean and not training you or disrespectful. Call your recruiter and get another trainer.
Yeah.
That's for guys and girls, right?
That's for guys and girls. I should have got another trainer, but I stuck it out because I'm hard-headed.
Yeah.
Me and him butted heads every day.
Well,
there's a lot of good trainers out there, but then there's those ones that they're doing it for the paycheck. They don't really care to train you. They'll do the bare basics. You want to try to get with a trainer that's going to teach you how to back in properly at the docks and show you all the things that you need to know about the road. And if you feel that you're not jiving with the trainer for whatever reason, we've helped several drivers get new trainers because it's important that, during your training process, you're actually learning and not being not trained or too scared to ask questions.
Right, because you don't want to be out there and not really know what it is that you're supposed to be doing next, right?
Absolutely. And I think the other thing is a lot of the truck drivers I see especially when they're talking on Facebook and they're like, well, what do I need to bring with me? The bare necessities when you're first starting out, you just need whatever you're going to need to sleep with, extra bedding, clothing for all weather. You have to have clothing for all weather and your bathroom supplies and maybe a few snacks. Once you get going over the road and you start understanding the roads, then you need to start adding your tools, probably more water and more food supplements and stuff like that. But at the beginning, and obviously a headset.
Yeah, get a good headset.
Any suggestions on good headsets?
I kind of like Blue Parrot.
Yeah.
I'm partial to Blue Parrot.
Yeah, because the biggest thing is, you're going to have conversations not only with your family, but also with your employers, your dispatchers. So you want to make sure that you get a noise canceling headset first of all, you have to wear a headset in the truck because if a police officer sees you on your phone, obviously it's a huge ticket. But the noise canceling ones are the best. And Blue Parrot seems to be the most economical and best one we found.
It's clear, loud, and they can hear you good.
Good. And now do you each have your own headset?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't have to share one in the truck there or anything like that.
Actually, we've got several because of that reason. Because we've gone from earbuds to headsets to just trying to find the perfect balance. But yeah, I think we've got like 4 or 5 different sets on our truck, and we take those with us in our car too.
And a phone mount.
Yes, phone mount's super important.
What kind of phone mount is best?
What's that called? Bartronics.
The Bartronics one is the one that we found the best. It's you can get them through Love's and Amazon are the 2 big places. It's got a magnetic, which is so much nicer when you're driving. You just put a little magnet on the back of your phone and it automatically just pops right on there. So it makes it easy to get it on and off, but it holds it well. So when you're driving down the road, maybe you're hitting all those potholes, your phone's not going to come off of it. So that's the reason we love Bartronics.
Yeah, it holds very well. And it has a lot of different angles. You can move it around. You can definitely adjust it left, right, up, down, high, low.
Add your GPS.
Where does it attach? Somewhere on the dash, or where do you attach it?
Our dash is not smooth, so it doesn't really affix to the dash. So I have it mounted on the window, the windshield.
Yeah, and it's a long bar, so it can hold more than just your phone. So you could actually mount your GPS to it. If you use a tablet, I know a lot of people that use a tablet for their clock. So it can hold up to 3 or 4 devices at a time, and it's not going to shake off your dash or your window.
We use our tablet for Google Maps.
Right.
Because it's a nice size tablet. And it holds very well, and you can see where you're going. I love it. It's a lot better than the phone.
What kind of tablet do you use?
Galaxy 7 S series.
Okay. Wow. So it covered a lot of information right there. We've got more. We're going to be back here in just a few minutes, so stay tuned to TNC Radio.live.
As a professional driver, the engineers at Front Lane know that you remain focused on the road regardless of weather and traffic conditions. That's not always true of the drivers behind you. Every 9 minutes, another commercial vehicle is rear-ended by a driver failing to control their speed. And guess who gets the blame? When you have to brake quickly, Tailbone illuminates a series of bright LED lights that allow the driver behind you to react up to 50% faster. Using amazing accelerometer technology and a battery that will last for years, Tailbone meets the standards set by the NHTSA and the FMCSA. Learn more by visiting www.frontlane.com/tailbone. That's www.frontlane.com/tailbone. Approved in all 50 states, it's Tailbone by Front Lane.
This info blog on tncradio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 3 simple tips to improve your CSA score. There are millions of drivers on the road every day. That's why trucking companies must stay compliant with federal safety regulations. Staying compliant with federal safety regulations not only helps keep yourself and others on the road safe, but also helps improve your safety scores. A good CSA score is extremely important to the success of a trucking company. Drivers that have a good score have access to preferred loads and reduced insurance rates. Here's some tips on how to improve your CSA score. What is the CSA program? CSA, Compliance, Safety, Accountability, is a program of the FMCSA that holds truck drivers accountable for their role in safety. The main goal of the CSA program is to prevent accidents from happening on the road and to identify high-risk commercial motor carriers. Although the FMCSA runs the CSA program, they don't issue CSA scores. The FMCSA created an online safety measurement system that records data like roadside inspections and crash reports from the last 2 years. The data is updated monthly and assigned to your DOT number. The FMCSA then organizes the SMS data into 7 categories, often referred to as basics: behavior, analysis, and safety improvement. How to improve your CSA score? When it comes to CSA scores, the lower the scores, the better. Your CSA score determines whether or not you'll get a visit from the DOT. Over time, your CSA score can be improved by making safety a core focus of your trucking company. Prioritize pre-trip inspections. A large percentage of CSA violations are truck-related. This could all be prevented with a pre-trip inspection. Pre-trip inspections are one of the most important things you need to do before any trip. A simple pre-trip inspection helps you get in tune with your truck before you drive. It lets you know if anything's wrong with the truck or needs to be fixed before hitting the road. Not only are you required by law to perform a pre-trip inspection, but it also keeps you and others safe while on the road. Check out our blog, 4 Reasons Why Pre-Trip Inspections Are Important for Truck Drivers. Be more cautious of who you hire. Hiring drivers with a good driving record is crucial if you want to have a good CSA score. Remember that CSA scores use your driver's crash records to calculate your score. So if you hire a driver with a bad driving history, you're taking on more of a risk. Challenge citations. You have at least 2 years to challenge a violation. If you challenge a violation and it gets dismissed, it'll be removed from your company's CSA score. The Truckers Network has teamed up with CDL Consultants and CDL 360 to provide a full spectrum of safety, compliance, and audit services to our members. CDL Consultants has successfully reduced or dismissed over 35,000 violations and tickets. They've worked with tens of thousands of drivers and companies, including many top 100 carriers. If you need to fight a violation, search for a CDL Consultant on the Truckers Network webpage at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
I'm Shelley Johnson with Kathy Tuccaro. You can hear us Tuesdays on tncradio.live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Women Road Warriors. And don't miss Steve Summers' Overnight Drive right here on tncradio.live, weeknights midnight to 5 a.m. Eastern. Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Be sure to catch the Truckers Network radio show with your host, Shelley Johnson, weekdays at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on tncradio.live.
Welcome back, tncradio.live. This is Taillights. I'm Tom Kelly, along with Larry and Angie Baum, and it's
because we're both hard-headed. So when we get to that point where we're about ready to argue, I always stop and I'm like, is it really worth arguing about? Is it really worth it? Because 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. And so that's like the best piece of advice, especially when you're in such a confined space 24/7. Is it really worth having an argument? If the answer is I don't know or no, then no, don't argue.
Drop it, let it go, and move on.
Yep.
So if people wanted to hear more now, you all do some stuff on Facebook, you got some stuff out on YouTube and that kind of stuff. How can people learn more about you and find more of your information?
You can follow us on Facebook. It's Married the Number 2 the Road. We live stream a lot on there. We share our TikToks and our crazy life with our dogs out here on the road. And we love it because we get to interact with everybody. And then you can also find us on...
My favorite is live streaming.
Yes, we love live streaming because we can be interactive with people. And then we also have our trucker safety info where we share the weather, accidents, and constructions for our truckers and RVers. And then our Treat a Trucker program where we gift out gift cards to our truck drivers.
And we have 2 shows, Friday night and Saturday night.
Yep, which you can find on Married to the Road.
Now tell us more about the Treat a Trucker.
Yeah, so Treat a Trucker, we actually started at the heart of COVID when we were having such a hard time finding open restaurants to eat at, and they wouldn't let us go through the drive-thru. And so we started every week on Friday. Larry and I would take $100 out of our pocket, and we would buy Subway and Denny's gift cards, and we would just gift truck drivers and just say, hey, we just wanted to give this to you and just say thank you for being out there. We appreciate you. And it was just kind of our way of giving back because we were stuck out here working while everybody was at home. And so it was our way of saying thank you. And then before we knew it, the media got a hold of it and other people got a hold of it and it just grew. And so now we've got 10 truck drivers to help us.
And we just passed 1,000 truckers that we treated.
Yes. Yeah. We just reached. So in the last 2 years, we've gifted, I think we're almost at 1,100 truckers. And most of it was donations. Some of it, Larry and I figured out we've gifted $1,500 of our own money to truck drivers. And we still do it. And we love it because it just gives us a way to meet truckers and kind of, make their day.
Got it.
We started with Subway and Denny's because those are in a lot of truck stops. Sure. And at that time, those were basically the only places that were open.
Yeah, now we still do those too, but we also do Walmart because a lot of the truckers were saying, that they get their supplies from Walmart and their groceries. And we're like, well, that's a great idea. So now we also do Walmart cards.
Oh, cool. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Hey, we've only got a minute left, and I was going to ask Angie, what's difficult about being your partner out on the road, but I don't think there could be any difficulties, right?
No, I'm perfect.
Right.
She's awesome. I am the lucky one by far.
Oh, no.
I'm going to be married to a congresswoman.
So, no, I would say I've got a temper, too. That's my biggest thing. I do have a temper. We're both bullheaded.
Well, and that can occasionally lead to some fireworks out on the road, but y'all handle it well, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate you being with us. We appreciate the audience, and thank you all very much for joining us tonight. You've been listening to Taillights with Larry and Angie Baum right here on tncradio.live. Hey, in future episodes, we're going to be bringing in some other friends of Larry and Angie's getting their stories from the road as well, so really excited about that. Stay tuned next for Women Road Warriors right here, tncradio.live.
Becoming a truck driver is not an easy task. You have to meet several requirements. After reviewing and meeting the requirements, you'll need to obtain a CDL, or a commercial driver's license, through the DMV in your state. To get your CDL, you must pass a knowledge and skills test. Many drivers attend a trucking school to help prepare them for the tests. After successfully passing the CDL test, you now have your Class A CDL. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Well, there's a little bit more to becoming a professional truck driver than just passing a few exams and getting your CDL. Trucking, as you may know, is not an easy career. It can be stressful, dangerous, lonely, and emotionally draining. Drivers need to make it a priority to become fully prepared for life on the road. Being prepared for life on the road can help avoid unnecessary mistakes and losses. Attending a trucking school is one way for drivers to prepare themselves for their new adventure. However, drivers don't always learn everything they need to be successful during their time at trucking school. Trucking schools will cover the basics for classroom instruction and in-driving modules, but new drivers need to learn more than just the basics. How do new drivers acquire the right training? The Truckers Network is proudly partnering with Advanced Pre-Employment Training, which is a training course for both professional drivers and trucking companies. Advanced Pre-Employment Training helps grow your industry knowledge by providing training courses on all the important topics for becoming a successful driver. These include pre-trip inspection, company representation, communication, document organization, bill of lading, refrigeration units, weight and axles, safety, and industry knowledge. Their focus points are to increase stability and growth in the business, eliminate mistakes and financial losses, maintain company safety ratings, and eliminate drivers and owner-operators quitting or losing their jobs. The Truckers Network members can now save 5% off advanced pre-employment training courses by using our exclusive promo code. Become a member today of the Truckers Network and save instantly.